Okay, so basically, monkey. A little while ago, Sony announced that Japan's studio will be reorganized and repurposed mainly around Team Asobi, who made Astro's Playroom. Japan studios are known for making some of my favorite childhood games like Loco Roco and Patapon on the PSP. I played the hell out of Everyone's Tennis on the PS2, but most memorably for me, they're behind the Ape Escape series. Recently, I've been replaying Ape Escape 3, the last in the mainline franchise, and want to make this video as a way to commemorate the series and the studio.
何ですか、先生?
In Ape Escape 3, you catch apes with a whole bunch of different gadgets. But let's start with a bit on the plot. There's this smart ape called Spectre who is using this helmet thing to control the minds of apes. With the help of this human scientist Dr. Tomoki, they're trying to take over the world through broadcasting on TV to hypnotize the masses, just like real life.
Bazinga.
The protagonists from the previous games are out of commission because they too have been hypnotized. And much like real life, it is up to these 10-year-olds, Satoru and Sayaka, to cancel these TV shows for the greater good. Side note, their names are Kei and Yumi in the US version for some reason, but not in Europe or Japan. But I'm sticking with the Japanese names for this video. Satoru is a kid with blue hair who likes to play baseball, a rather standard shonen protagonist type, while Sayaka is like a singer and a pop idol. That's right, in this household, we stan Sayaka. You can choose which character you want to play as at the beginning, but the story remains the same. There are a few minor differences depending on who you pick, such as during cutscenes, but we'll cover that later. I remember playing the Japanese copy of Ape Escape 3, and I'm just blown away by how much of a banger the opening theme is compared to the Western versions. Apart from the two playable protagonists, Aki serves as the professor or guide for this game. Her Japanese VA is of course the wonderful Ohara Sayaka, the greatest One-san in anime history.
アイリス・フィール・フォン・アインツベルン役の大原さやかです。よろしくお願いします。よろしくお願いします。耳が幸せ。耳がすごく幸せ。いや、直のイヤホンで聞いてる私たちなんて得なんだろうっていうちょっと。
My fantasies for Aki can never be quenched. So after you start the game, you get a short tutorial on the controls. This was one of the reasons why this game was so difficult for me as a kid. The right stick is used for using your gadgets, which responds to your directional inputs. So, if I pull the right stick back, my character will swing towards the camera. The face buttons are used for switching between the gadgets, and the right trigger is used for jumping. It gets more complicated when you have different vehicles in later levels, such as race cars, mecha robots, and tanks, which all have different control schemes. The race car is really hard to control. Your left stick is used for braking and accelerating, whilst the right stick is just for turning and drifting. Nothing wrong with this control system, but it's pretty much agreed upon that the handling on the car is pretty trash. Thankfully, there's only 3 instances where you need to use the race car to capture apes. The control for the mecha robot is quite counterintuitive, requiring you to push both sticks forward to go forward, one stick to turn, and pushing the sticks into each other to jump. Overall, the control scheme is not too bad since you will be learning the controls for the first few levels, and the apes themselves won't dodge that much yet. Well, that is until you get to the rowing sections, because I can't for the life of me control it accurately. Moving on, there are 8 gadgets in total that will make ape catching a lot easier. Most of them are used for traversal, like the super hoop that will propel you forward really fast, the water net that lets you catch apes while swimming, as well as the sky flyer, which I'm not gonna describe because you know what it does. The net, stun club, and radar are still your essential tools, but often there are multiple ways to capture apes and you're not required to use just one tool for the job. You can swing at them with the net, you can stun them with the club first and then capture with the net, or you can use the new morph mechanic to transform into a fantasy character, or persona as they call it. This mechanic is tied to your battery level. These green batteries are scattered all around the map, and it also recharges by itself over time, so I've never been in a situation where my battery has gone dry completely. It is a good idea to morph back to normal if you're not using it. Each protagonist has 6 forms they can transform into, 7 if you count the monkey costume that you unlock after beating the game. For Satoru, he can turn into a knight, while Sayaka can transform into a witch. I'm honestly quite impressed that they have designed each form to be different across the 2 protagonists. Although they largely share a theme and a moveset, their appearance is completely different. Because the morph will give you a different moveset, you will not be able to access your gadgets in this form. For example, the knight can swing his saber and his shield will block all incoming damage, but to capture apes, you'll have to press down on the right stick and a circle will appear around you that acts as a capture net. Or the Wild West Kid transformation, which will make your character into a gunslinger. Satoru turns into a cowboy and Sayaka a cowgirl. This mechanic was really fun because it not only makes capturing apes more stylish, it also gives the player new ways to navigate the levels. The ninja transformation allows you to sprint on tight ropes, run on walls, and makes you a combat god. The genie charmer will let you get through certain puzzles by teleporting through these vases and play music that will make the apes start to dance. So let's start this game as Sayaka on the Japanese copy, but I'll be sprinkling in gameplay from Satoru near the end. And what you will find out very quickly is that you'll have a slightly easier time playing as Sayaka. Because she is a pop idol, some apes will just stop and be charmed by her. You can literally just walk up to them and capture them this way. Even apes can't escape the power of Simp. Each level has a certain amount of apes you need to capture to clear the level. Once you do that, you will be transported back to the hub. You're still free to go back and capture the ones you left out, but I recommend doing so after you clear the main game once, since that adds even more apes to capture. So you don't have to do the same level 3 times. The first few levels are pretty easy, and you can get a sense of the levels being themed around famous movies, pop culture tales, and places related to TV and film. Eventually you end up on the medieval castle level, and this is definitely my favorite level in the game. From the soundtrack that gets stuck in your head, to the apes being dressed up like knights and princesses, this level always gives me such a big dose of nostalgia. It definitely helps that you were just given the morph ability to transform into a knight or a witch. Scattered around the levels are also these breakable objects like crates, vases, or barrels depending on the level, which gives you coins, batteries, or cookies for health. So most of the time, I'm just going around the level breaking all of them. After this level, we have our first boss fight against the white monkey who is in a dragon mecha. You can take care of him pretty easily with your witch morph, which blocks all damage. Just walk towards him while blocking the fire, it's pretty straightforward. After you capture the white monkey, the satellite dish gets destroyed, stopping broadcasting from the station. We later find out that there are 5 monkey bosses in total and we have to shut each one down. We then head to the big city where we have to do some racing, stop a robbery in progress, and attend a rugby game. Along the way to the next boss monkey, we make a stop at the TV station, and can we just talk about how tall the steps are for this escalator? It's literally up to my neck. There's an interesting Friday the 13th horror-inspired level which makes use of the water net, and we finally arrive in Wild West Town. This level is pretty much designed with the Wild West Kid morph in mind, and you'll have a much easier time since a lot of the apes in this level also have guns. There is also a cool train robbery sequence where you gotta hop from carriage to carriage capturing these apes. At the end of this level, we finally get to the blue monkey boss fight. Of course, he is themed around the whole western genre and we have a duel in this small town. There are 2 phases to this boss fight. You want to have your cowboy morph up at all times and deal constant damage to him. In the next phase, you get transported into this corridor with him on a machine gun, and you're supposed to dodge his attacks while shooting at him at the same time. With the blue monkey out of the way, we move on to the next boss. Notably, along the way, we visit a hot spring. If you play this level as Sayaka, you will not be able to go into the mail change room. which I think is a neat detail. We also get access to the ninja persona, which makes you not play with female streamers.
Like, oh, CDN, yeah. Oh, you might be too low, but oh wait, yeah. You don't know ninja, yeah.
Next up, the yellow monkey boss fight. He does a few of these sumo wrestler moves, but you can dodge them pretty easily. His signature attack though is this. Yep, that's right, he fires shurikens from his nipples. The last two will also connect with a rope that you can then run up to him and hit him. You can then run along the wall to push this mechanism which will drop a lantern on him. This boss fight is weird, I don't know. Skipping along, we get this Titanic inspired level called the Sinking of Monk Titanic, My Heart Can Go On. And we get to capture fucking Monk Caprio and of course, a furry. Soon we head to the desert level inspired by Indiana Jones, Mondiana Jones, and great hiding spot, dude. We get the pink monkey who is also a singer, but our hearts will not be swayed. We put Sayaka's happy sensation on loop 24/7. In this boss fight, I swear to god, I think you just have to dodge her attacks and hit her. There isn't really much to it. You can make it easier if you use a genie dancer morph, which will stop her from using the charm beam and make her vulnerable. Notably, you don't actually capture her in this boss fight, she just teleports out of there and you're like, okay. Another water level is up next, and the music is such a vibe. The OST for this game is just amazing. Granted, I am speaking with nostalgia glasses, but something about the endless optimism and fun that is expressed in every single track makes Ape Escape 3 so much more memorable. In fact, the reason why I started replaying this game in the first place was because I was humming one of the OST out of nowhere. Big shout out to Soichi Terada, the composer of the soundtrack. He also did the OST for the original Ape Escape as well as the PSP spin-off games. There's also a Top Gun parody level, which is a real platforming challenge, jumping between planes. Skipping to the red monkey boss fight, he is mostly based on Kung Fu and you can see him use these clubs, but there are 3 phases to this fight. The first one is pretty easy, he's got this combo that leaves him wide open. In the second phase, the arena is dark and he now has this long-range fart attack that will stun you for a few seconds. If you get caught, he will follow up with a fire attack, but you can usually jump out of the way. In the final phase, there's just one straight platform to fight on. I found it easier to use the knight and just block all of his hits and attack when there's an opening. Then you just knock this man off the damn tower, but we don't care, we just capture him anyways. Did you know that apes live in the sea? Now you do. In this stage, we get to a gritty urban area where we have to put the Monkinator 2 out of commission, not before we commit some more vehicular monk slaughter. Apart from that, this level is pretty by the books. Climb some poles, do some platforming, dodge lasers, and eventually we take out Goldfingers, making us one step closer into finding Spectre and the human scientist Dr. Tomoki. We get to the futuristic city where Tomoki is situated. Notably, before this, we get our final morph persona, Gatchaman, which is pretty broken. His regular attack is the ability to fire beams from his hands. Most importantly, you can dash in the air over a long distance, making platforming a lot easier if you can master its distance. The fight against Tomoki is with the mecha robots, which is actually able to sustain a lot of hits. As long as you're able to keep up with Tomoki's movements, you can wear down his health quite easily. After this battle, Tomoki agrees to take us to Spectre, who has a base in space. It's like a broadcasting satellite, and it's the final stage for this game. This final level is actually made up of 4 smaller levels which you have to tackle first. They're pretty small scale and don't drag on too long. You're also given the choice to return to the hub if you want without restarting the level from the beginning. The hub area for Ape Escape 3 is so relaxing. You walk up to these stations to access different features, like the gallery when you can look at photos, the Monkipedia for a little description on every ape you've captured, There's a hint book that offers extra help to players, as well as the ability to customize your RC car since Satoru and Sayaka have different models, and you can buy more in the shop. At the gallery, you can listen to the OST, check out older cutscenes, and even change your genie's dance music. Next to the level select, there's a fortune telling machine for some reason, and you can check your horoscope and romance fortune. There's also a section for minigames, which we'll cover later. A lot of the slots will be empty at first because you need to buy them at the shop. Let's head over to the market street for that. The money that you collect throughout the game can be spent here to buy more lives or collectibles like pieces of music, short stories, and photos for the photo gallery mentioned before. Those cameras that you use to film scenes throughout the game can be viewed in full at the Simeon Cinema, and the films, they're just shitposts. Back to the level, being in space, we of course have the obligatory Star Wars reference with Monk Vader. When we finally make it to the top, we get a cutscene with Spectre explaining his plan of karate chopping the Earth in half. Of course, these 10-year-olds are not gonna let that happen. We get an on-rails segment that actually kind of reminds you of Nier Automata, where you fly around the Goliath. So in this phase, you have to dodge some rockets and aim for the wind-up keys on different parts of the body. After you destroy the head of the robot, you now fight Spectre one-on-one. Now, I feel like I kinda cheesed this fight by using the Wild West Kid morph, which allowed me to keep a sustained damage on Spectre, and his doppelganger move can be easily overcome with this. So you knock him off the chair, capture him, and that's the end of this boss fight. We get a cutscene of the kids escaping a satellite station and Dr. Tomoki sacrificing his life to destroy the karate chop heading towards Earth.
The space station!
No! Mr. Afro!
Actually, we found out later in the credits that he survives this, so it's all good. After the credits, we found out that Pink Monkey, whom we didn't get to capture, helped Spectre escape again, giving us the incentive to replay the levels again and capture all the remaining apes. This time you have access to the monkey morph, which will allow you to go into these hidden areas and capture the rest of the apes. Part of the post-game after your first playthrough is spending a lot of money buying these collectibles. Of course, there's only one collectible that really deserves highlighting, and it's a minigame that you can buy at the hobby store for 573 coins, called Meso Gear Solid. To call this a minigame would be a bit of disservice. This is like a whole nother campaign. So this is a parody of Metal Gear and it's given permission by Konami, and you play as People Snake, an ape who has Snake's battle data, and therefore he's pretty advanced in stealthy infiltration. You're sent in because Snake is missing going after the Meso Gear, and you work with him to destroy it. What makes this minigame so unique is that this isn't just a rehash of used maps. Instead, they are completely new layouts and themes. You have access to your banana pistol, watermelon bomb, which is like your C4, and your pineapple grenade. You can even use the cardboard box to sneak past enemies. This minigame also has its own secrets which require you to blow up these walls and rescue prisoners. You enter the base and eventually make contact with Snake, who is slightly ahead of where you are. Along the way, you also had to go through a few boss fights which we unfortunately have seen in the main game. Eventually, you finally get close to Snake, and this happens.
For now, let me go first. Catch up with me as soon as you can.
When you arrive, it seems like Snake is being tickled by this liquid snake ape, and you get into another boss fight with the Meso Gear. This boss fight is unique, and you have to deal enough damage to it before you run out of tracks. I failed a few times because of that. After that, you're treated to a claw-to-claw fight with the other ape on top of the train. This fight annoyed the hell out of me. He has this one spin attack that deals one whole bar of health, and there's no tell on when he'll do it. I managed to just beat him through trial and error, and we get this cutscene.
Well, I guess that's the way it goes. We'll probably meet again somewhere. The end.
This actually led to a crossover in MGS3 where you control Snake trying to capture apes.
Just listen. Your mission is to infiltrate the jungle and capture all of the monkeys.
If you want your monkeys, you better ask Kakeru or Hikaru. Gotcha! You're mine!
So that's all I wanted to talk about Ape Escape 3. It's pretty unlikely we're gonna see a sequel to this game, and I'm glad that they ended the mainline series on such a high note. Thank you Japan Studios, and I hope we get to see more Ape Escape in some form or another from Team Asobi. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments if you played Ape Escape 3 before and what's your favorite stage. Mine is of course the castle level. This video took me a while to make because it was so enjoyable just replaying some childhood games, and I want to do this franchise justice. Follow me on Twitter for updates and Monkey Flip, and I'll see you next time.